the foam up there is to keep the mud from sticking to the helmets, because once you get so much mud up there, the helmets get a little heavy and start getting down in your eyes. So you know, it's just a little tricky now.
Just to the right of 93, Damian Platz is Carmichael. Carmichael gets a late break off the cement on the start. And it's Platz getting the whole shot money. There's Tortelli on the inside. Sebastian Tortelli is our leader on Team Honda's machine. Number 21 with Greg Albertine, another former GP Motocross champion, right behind him. Tortelli, Albertine, break from the rest of the pack. Well, Carmichael has got some making up to do. Platz in third, but Larry Ward is putting a challenge to him. Albertine tries to close on Sebastian Tortelli. Ward to the outside, battling for third. He'll take that berm with more speed. Ward coming off his best finish so far this year, a 6th place at Red Bud with a 6-7. There you have it, Tortelli, Albertine getting around the tree.
Yeah, these two guys have both won world championships, and you know, now Tortelli trying to do what Albertine did last year, and you know, it looks like he has a pretty good chance of doing that.
Tortelli last year was the leader in points, as he is this year, coming into Unadilla, but had the crash with Doug Henry, and it put him out for the season.
Yeah, this race wasn't so good for him last year, but it looks like he's starting it off good. You know, it's a tough track there, and you can see by Tortelli, he's real strong and he stands up a lot and takes the bumps, you know, real well, and that's good. You know, a track like this, you need to stand up on the pegs a lot. It takes a lot of the force away.
Albertine is not getting lost. He's sticking right with Tortelli. Greg this year, of course, coming off a femur injury, broken femur in Supercross. Everybody thought, well, will he ever be able to make it back? But he did in time for the motocross season, and that femur was fairly strong as he was working out 2 to 3 weeks before Glen Helen and the opener there. But then since that time, he's had some knee problems that have been very painful.
Yeah, this track, this track wouldn't be good for knees. You know, I've heard a few knees before, and with all these ruts, you can get them tangled in the corners a lot, and you know, that can be pretty painful.
So Larry Ward, you see him coming up in third behind Albertine as Kevin Windham's in a good position in fourth. We'll be right back with more 250 action from Unadilla. Motocross action at its best from Unadilla. It is the 7th round of the Chevy Trucks AMA Motocross Series. Our leader is Tortelli, but we have a battle ensuing right now for third place. Larry Ward, Kevin Windham, number 14 on the Honda, and coming up behind them, Ricky Carmichael trying to recover, and he's blitzing. But right now you see Larry Ward and Kevin Windham in our picture. There's Ricky now coming in the just in the background.
Yeah, Kevin, I love watching Kevin ride. He's so, you know, he reminds me of Lachine, because that's who I grew up watching. He has so much talent. I just wish he could, you know, put it together a little bit more. But you know, racing's a tough deal. It's a lot of mental and physical stuff. So I understand completely.
Back and forth we go. Kevin Windham right now has the position. Take a look at the pass again.
Yeah, it looked like Windham almost ran into the back of Larry Ward, but he put the brakes on and tucked underneath him and made the pass.
Larry hasn't given up. Here comes Ward back again. Tries to put the block pass on Windham. Windham just got by in the rear. And look at RC. Ricky Carmichael now challenging Windham. Three-way battle for third.
Yeah, you can see how much more the 250s are getting kicked around. You know, the bikes, it's a whole bit different horsepower. A lot of 125 riders, they ride real good on 125s, and they get up to 250, and it's a whole different ball game. So the bikes are heavier, more power, and they hit the bumps, so they'll spit you down a lot faster. But you know, Carmichael, he's made a good transition, and I also picked him to win the championship. So I'd like to see him win it, not some French guy.
And right now, just as you said that, he passes Larry Ward, getting into third. So he passed Windham and then Ward in your soliloquy.
Yeah, he's he's definitely going for it. You know, he's the only rider I've ever seen that sits down so much. But I guess he doesn't have much room to stand up. But Man, he makes it work. His corner speed is like nobody else's, and that's where he makes up his time, you know. But, you know, he trains real hard and practices real hard, so that's his advantage.
Let's hear from his mechanic now, Chad Watts. Chad is with Davey.
Chad, Ricky didn't get that great of a start, but wow, he's making up time quick.
Yeah, he came around the first turn 12th, and he came around me the second lap, and he's in third right now, and he's only about 3 behind Albie and about 5 behind Tortelli.
He didn't have the best of days 2 weeks ago at Redbud. How hard has he been working since?
When he gets beat, he gets mad, so it even pushes him a little bit further.
Carmichael picking up all kinds of time up that hill on Albertine. He's hired a trainer to help him with nutrition and building upper body strength. Alvin Baker, a World Cup mountain bike type of a guy. So Ricky really getting serious about the physical side of this game.
Yeah, I mean, Ricky, you know, before always relied on his talent and his willing to let it hang on the edge. But now that he's moved up to the 250 ranks, he has to get a little bit more strength and a little bit more endurance. But that's good that he's doing it.
Back and forth we go. Carmichael passes, Albertine passes. A great battle going on right here at Unadilla. What a crowd pleaser. Last year, Carmichael coming from way back in the 125s to win. Oh, Ricky goes down.
Yeah, you can see that Ricky was, when you land off jumps, you kind of want to move your body forward. And when he landed, he was moving his body forward, but he wasn't expecting the bike just to stop. And his momentum went forward, and the bike stopped.
Another look at it. Boy, he took a pounding that time. He was lucky he didn't collide with Albertine.
Yeah, you know, that was unexpected, but he got up quick, you know, so he didn't lose that many spots. And with the pace that Ricky has, he should be able to come back up through. You know, he has that fight in him.
He's right behind Damian Plotz. Plotz getting on the scene once again. He's getting a lot of TV time.
Well, he must be from New York or something. He's tracked down.
Here's Kevin Windham, number 14. Windham in third place, and Villeman now starting to challenge him from the 4th place slot. David Villeman starting off the season so hot. And then just unlucky, really. A clutch problem, kind of threw everything off. He's been trying to go early to a lot of these tracks because this is the first year he has run 250s on the motocross circuit. We'll be right back with more 250s. Welcome back to Unadilla Valley Sports Center for the 7th round of AMA motocross action. The battle is on for third. David Villeman, number 934 from Team Yamaha, challenging Kevin Windham of Team Honda, number 14 for third. Brian, it seems every year we start talking earlier about silly season, rumors, etc. Of course, the big one is about Kevin Windham right now.
Yeah, Kevin, you know, he has so much talent and that everybody wants him. And I know there's a couple teams out there giving him offers, and you know, I hear that it's real highly he might go to Suzuki.
David Villeman making the move in front of him. Villeman's got one more year with Team Yamaha.
Yeah, Villeman's made a good transition over here in Supercross. Nationals looks like he came in strong, and then I don't know what the problem is now, but it seems like he's fallen off the pace a little bit, but I think maybe Tortelli and Carmichael just have stepped it up so much. Tortelli,
Albertine, Villeman the top 3 with Windham and Raynard rounding out the top 5, and Carmichael now back in 6th after passing Larry Ward. You notice the mechanics giving the boards right before going into that tree. Do you have time to look at something like that?
Yeah, I've never really understood why they put that the signaling there, you know, because you come out of a left-hand corner, you look up, and then you got to go into a right and not hit the tree, and you barely ever see the sign. So I've always told my mechanic to do it the straightaway before, so I could at least get a little chance to look at it.
Kevin Windham in 4th. And of course, everybody's kind of waiting to see what Jeremy McGrath is going to do as far as his season is concerned and forming his own team. Here comes Ricky Carmichael making a move on Robbie Raynard, number 17.
Yeah, it looked like Carmichael or Renard just kind of said, "Okay, go ahead." You know, I don't think there's much fight there. I think that was probably the easiest pass I've ever seen. That's pretty sad to say that someone out there making that kind of money and that job, letting someone go past him that easy.
Raynard with only 1 podium on the year. That was the 3rd at Southwick, but double digits, 11th, 2 11th place finishes in the last 2 races. There's the pass you mentioned.
Yeah, to me, that's just sickening, you know. he saw that was Ricky. He knew he was going to be passed, so he just kind of let him by. No fight, no nothing. I mean, yeah, when someone, you know, doesn't give it their all, when, you know, Ricky, he gives his life to racing. You know, it doesn't matter what position the bike's in, he just full gas.
And Ricky's had quite an adjustment coming on to the 250, especially after the tough Supercross season. This week's Chevy Truck Kawasaki bike setup with Davey Coombs is next.
Well, it's been raining up here at the Unadilla Valley Sports Center, which means that the bikes are going to be set up a little differently than normal. For this week's Kawasaki bike setup, we thought we'd talk to Bruce Schoenstrom, the manager for Ricky Carmichael, John Dowd, and Larry Ward. Bruce, what are you going to do to prepare these bikes for the rain?
Well, there's a few obvious changes that we make. The first one, of course, is the hand guards. Try to keep the riders' hands and their gloves as dry as possible, especially with the roost coming off the other bikes, and it seems to help. And, of course, unless they fall down, then their gloves are going to get muddy, and there's not much we can do. A couple other things is we try to keep the air box dry as possible in case there's any standing water on the track, and we tape around certain areas under the seat to try to keep that as dry as possible. We also use mud rotors for the brakes, which are the same size as the rotors we normally run, but they don't have any holes in them, and this lessens the brake wear.
What about the tires and the gearing for the mud?
Well, the gearing, a lot of times we'll run the same gearing, but we run the chain a lot slacker because the mud packs into the sprockets and can break a chain actually over a jump. And with the tires, we'll run fewer knobs and take advantage of hopefully some better traction in the muddy conditions.
Well, that's what Team Kawasaki's going to do here. They got 3 guys that can be up front in the 250 class, Dowd, Ward, and Carmichael, and that's the way the bikes will be set up here at Unadilla.
Back to the action. Tortelli continues to lead, but our real battle right now is for 4th place as Ricky Carmichael trying to pick up points now. Is battling with Kevin Windham. Windham, number 14, currently been 4th. Carmichael after going down. Woo! Lots of fishtail in that corner.
That's what I mean about wanting to win. You know, that's wanting to win right there. It just doesn't matter where you're at, what line you're in, and you know, and that's what proves it. You know, Ricky has won 3 races this year, first year on 250, and that's what I like to see. You know, I don't like to see the people that don't give their whole life to racing. It's a life thing. You gotta live, eat, sleep, drink, motocross.
That's exactly what the leaders in points right now, Sebastian Tortelli, Ricky Carmichael, feel. Tortelli, Albertine, and Villeman are top 3. We'll see what Carmichael can do with that when we come back. Ali Seamar's been teamed with Kevin Windham throughout Kevin's pro career. He's the subject of this week's Honda Profile. Since Team Honda's Kevin Windham turned pro 7 years ago, he's only had 1 tuner. His longtime good friend, Ali Seamar.
It's a good relationship Ali and I have. We've been working together ever since I started as a professional, and I've been friends a lot longer than that. We were riding together when I was 3, and he was actually riding professional, and now we live together and just have a great relationship.
We pretty much click together. During the season, once the season gets started, I usually go back east to his house, and I mean, we get up in the morning, he goes riding, we ride 4-wheels together, we ride Z50s, 70s, you know, we're doing something together just about every day, all day.
Ali didn't always work behind the scenes. He began racing at age 9, and his career progressed to the professional ranks of the National Motocross and Supercross series.
I did pretty good, you know, I wasn't a top 5 guy, but I usually made the mains and, you know, top 15 outdoor. But I just, once I got done racing, I wanted to stay in the business, and I started working as a mechanic for a privateer, and then I went to pro circuit, and then when Kevin turned 16, he started riding nationals, and we hooked up and been together ever since.
Since they hooked up, they've won 12 Supercross and 11 motocross races, including the 1996 West Supercross title, and second overall in last year's 250 motocross point standings. And with so many years and races together, neither can imagine being without the other on race day.
Yeah, I've never experienced racing without him on a professional level, and actually before, 2-3 years before I even went pro, you know, he had said that, you know, whoever he was working for at the time had the understanding that when I turned pro, he was going to come and work for me, and that's just a experience I've never had to face, and hopefully never will.
Yeah, we've been together, this is our 7th year together, and it's as good as the first year, you know, we get along great.
In an era when commitment is rare, Ali and Kevin have vowed to remain together until the end.
he's made a commitment to me, and as well for me to him, that we'll work together through my retirement, and then when I'm done, he's done, and you know, maybe venture off into something else together. You know, he's a good guy, hard worker, and you know, somebody that I can trust. So whether it's a business after racing or whatever, you know, he's a good guy, good friend, and see what happens then.
Well, it's been a long time since we saw number 21, Team Honda, Sebastian Tortelli, because he was just out of sight. I mean, he just took off and hasn't looked back here on this Unadilla track. Actually, Sebastian was running real well on this track before he got injured last year. It's a long way back to second place. There's Greg Albertine.
That was a pretty good jump there. It looks like Tortelli's really putting the gas down.
And while we were away, Ricky Carmichael, you see him in third, past David Villeman. Albertine concerned about RC, looking back at him. Let's take another look now while we're away. What happened here with Villeman and Ricky Carmichael? Carmichael inside gives him a little extra roost on the way by.
Yeah, that's another way to ride this track, you know. Ricky, he said, what line, you know? Everybody else is looking for lines.
Joe Maurer, Albertine's mechanic, trying to encourage him on. Stay out in front of Ricky Carmichael. That's not an easy thing to do, especially when Ricky's got the points championship on his mind.
Yeah, that's another thing I don't like my mechanic to do, is to pit board who's behind me. You know, I don't like to know who's behind me, because then that starts making me race behind me instead of in front of me. I like to know how far I'm behind or if I'm close enough. And if I'm not close enough, just to ride smooth.
You just can't stay out in front if you're worried about who's behind you.
Yeah, you don't race behind you. You see a lot of people looking back a lot, and that's, you know, who cares who's behind you, man? Just look in front.
Art Carmichael having to duck the roost before leaping down the mountain. There's Maurer up in the left portion of your screen. And a little mistake by Albertine. You see the reaction of his mechanic as Ricky Carmichael now makes the pass.
Yeah, he just held some gas on the outside. You know, came up that hill a little faster and jumped off the jumps a little farther. And that's all it takes sometimes, is just not being afraid to keep the gas on.
So Carmichael, after a slow start and after going over the bars and getting back up again, has moved all the way back to second place.
That's different. You can see from other people's styles. You know, a lot of people win races by being smooth, and a lot of people win races by holding the gas on.
So it's Tortelli and Carmichael for the showdown. We'll be right back. Number 21, Sebastian Tortelli of Team Honda, came into this race with a 4-point lead. And as he approaches the final lap of the first moto, it looks like he's going to have a 7-point lead going into moto number 2. This has been such a great back and forth points battle between Tortelli and Carmichael. It's turned emotional, especially after Ricky Carmichael kind of gave an in-your-face block pass at Bud's Creek on Tortelli. Tortelli came streaming back with a 1-1 sweep at Redbud, and now is close to taking this third moto in a row with Carmichael in second. But with Ricky in second place, he's still in line for an overall.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's funny how little things will make you ride a little faster or get your attention. You know, I know Jeremy, he gets real motivated by what people say about him, or, you know, people don't think he can win, and that motivates him. And Tortelli looks like he got motivated from Carmichael block passing him on the last lap and, you know, kind of putting it in his face.
Speaking of Jeremy, what's he doing right now? I understand he got a little fired up when Villeman said that he was just racing for money.
Yeah, well, that's the best thing he did. He told me that he was so glad that Villeman said that, because now next year he's coming back even hungrier again.
Right now, number 21 has got to have a smile in his heart as he completes the last lap with a gigantic lead. The checkered flag waving, and the wheelie from Sebastian Tortelli. What a great feeling this has got to be for Tortelli after the injury of last year, putting him out for the season. And what a great comeback for Ricky Carmichael and a second-place finish.
Yeah, that was a great ride from Ricky, you know. I mean, look, he gassed it all the way to the finish line, even though he had a big lead.
Tortelli the victory. Carmichael in second. Albertine also in the top 3 with Wyndham and Villeman rounding out the top 5. Damian Platz in the top 10. Congratulations, Damian. Let's go to Davey with our winners.